everyone, it's Kelly with Women for One, and welcome. I am beyond honored again to be speaking with my friend Panache Desai today. We spoke a year ago and a lot has happened, I think, for both of us in the past year. And I'm really excited to speak with him about whatever may come up today. So first I want to say what I love about Panache, first and foremost, is he is extremely real, extremely grounded, and he is a contemporary thought leader. And I have to bring this up again. Oprah called him a friend who gently reminds you of who you are. And that is one of my favorite things about Panache, that he's, first of all, gentle, and that he really takes us back to what we need in our lives to feel purpose, passion, and joy. So last time we spoke with him about his book, 33 Days to Your Soul Signatures, to Your Soul Signature, and there's a much longer title. But today I want to re-explore that for a few minutes so people get to know who Panache is with our community, and then also move into a deeper conversation about discovering that passion and joy. Panache is, I think, first and foremost, a father, because I honor the fathers of this world so much, and I really respect that place in every man that has made that choice in their lives. And also an incredible teacher that will help all of us move into a better place in our lives. So welcome, Panache.
It's great to be here with you again.
It's great to see you, and thank you for agreeing to talk to me. I'm really excited.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So when we start, I want to talk to our community a little bit about your background and where you came from, just to refresh their memory about the evolution of Panache and why you came to this place in your life where you decided to write this book and teach people also about finding their purpose and their passion.
Born into a spiritual family in London, was having experiences I couldn't reconcile, was profoundly connected to everything and everyone in a way that quite honestly freaked me out. And my whole life I'd been told that I was here to do something, and none of it really made any sense to me, and I actually didn't want any part of it. And so I have always been a very reluctant messenger, and yet the message never went away, and I couldn't avoid my destiny. And so I got to a place in my life, you know, as we all do, where we begin to re-examine and re-evaluate what's really important and how we choose to live. And as a result of that, I decided to go away for 6 months and meditate and live like a monk and live a very simple life. And in that, everything that I'd accumulated within me that was false began to fall away. And that 6-month period of just moving away from life as I knew it allowed me to once again come into contact with my soul signature, which that particular juncture, and especially when we talked last year, was expressing itself solely in a spiritual capacity. Since then, I'm happy to say that our soul signature constantly evolves and constantly expresses. Not that our core changes, but the application or the way in which our core is expressed continues to evolve over time.
And how has it evolved for you?
Well, for me, I've realized the limitations of spirituality. And ultimately that we have to be willing to go beyond that box in order to know who we are.
The definition of spirituality.
Right, and also just the whole industry, the whole genre as a whole. I think that ultimately it served its function and purpose. And that's not to dismiss everything that's existed before, but ultimately it's time for us to now evolve it and to move it into its next expression, which is just simply being at peace in our humanity.
Isn't it true?
Exactly.
And I felt that way, and I think my dearest friends in the world are not external seekers. The closest people I have in my life are not the people that are on the quote path or looking. They're people that are just committed to being the best people they can be and living life in the most present way they can be. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, because I think we're now evolving to a place where we're embodying and we're moving beyond the concepts and the ideas. And in embodying, there's just a simple silent presence that begins to permeate all things, that's then infused into other ventures and other expressions and creativity and entrepreneurship and other outlets, because ultimately it's through us being ourselves, which was the whole point of Soul Signature, that we begin to impact the world. But that doesn't necessarily have to happen through a spiritual conversation or dialogue. It can happen through fashion, it can happen through movies, it can happen through starting businesses, it can happen through redefining who you are and constantly evolving and constantly moving forward in alignment with why you're here and re-examining what your purpose is in each moment.
Well, it's funny that you're talking about that because you introduced me to Barnett Bain, and he's been a great supporter of Women for One. And he just launched he's having a new book about that creative space of spirituality, which I think is really the next space. It's like just channeling through what you need to do. It doesn't have to be the seeking or the spirituality. It has to be what your passion is, which can be anything, right?
Because the majority of that external seeking and searching comes from this inner belief of deficiency. It doesn't come from a place of wholeness. If you're living in a place of wholeness, you're not seeking and searching. Why would you be seeking and searching for who you already are? And I think that ultimately spirituality has been sold as a solution. And it isn't. Enlightenment is the act of destroying all of that which is false. And so what that means is everything that we've subscribed to that isn't real is being stripped away. So we're being made authentic. We're being made to be open, to allow for this creativity to flow through us. And it's exciting because I'm more energized and more enlivened by everything else that's happening in my life at this point than I ever have been. And the journey of Soul Signature has played its part in that, but there's an evolution that's occurred beyond that now that's allowing for me to fully express all that I am.
And what is that evolution that you've been experiencing this last year?
Well, I've begun to, the first thing that happened was I began to look at areas of my life where there was inefficiency or there was an inability to fully authentically express who I am. And so that took place in my business, for example. And I needed to go through a streamlining there in order to be able to fully express all that I am.
Okay.
Also, it led to introducing other ventures, like I want to start a fashion line next year.
You talked about that last year even, I remember, right.
And we're going to make films. We're going to make romantic comedies.
That's awesome.
Because I can. We've started a supplement company because I really like to support people on a physical level in their well-being as well. You know, and so there are so many different things that are happening now that are exciting. You know, consulting on global wellness brands. You know, it's just evolving. And I think that that's the most important thing of all is that, you know, we continue to evolve. And I think that if we as a community and a culture stay stuck in the same belief systems and the same ways of operating in the world, we're going to continue to render ourselves ineffective. Now, what we have to do now is find a mainstream application for everything that we are and to be able to express that in a way that people can get it.
Okay, so let me stop you. Mainstream application and everything. Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
Because I was following you, and then there.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
So the spiritual conversation, the spiritual community, spiritual dialogue is very limited in its application.
Yes, I agree.
But ultimately, it serves its function in empowering us to be out in the world, right? So then it's taking that connection and using it to master the material world. Like, how do we bring connection into fashion, into film, into business? How do we bring that into different frequencies and different resonances that people can kind of relate to?
So it's like a bridge, bridging from spirit.
Because so much of what we're talking about in our little genre is inaccessible and unrelatable. That's why most people's families unfriend them on Facebook, because they just think they've lost it, joined a cult, right? And just gone weird, right? Because it's just this weird, small conversation that very few people can understand. You know, there's a uniformity to it. There's another need for belonging in it. But, you know, I've realized that ultimately we have to be willing to leave all of that behind.
All of it. I agree.
All of it, because life awaits us on the other side of that. And that's what I'm discovering now.
So you're discovering that a lot of people that, not everybody, but a lot of people that seek aren't feeling whole. So they're trying to fill that hole inside themselves.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. And so basically they've gone from trying to fill it materially to trying to fill it spiritually. But ultimately, the irony of it, or the joke of all of it, is it's just nothing that needs to be filled.
No.
It's only ever a misperception on the level of that individual that leads them to believe that in the first place. You see?
Yeah, I'm just like taking it in for a minute because I'm writing this book, which I can't wait to talk to you about after our interview here, and almost finished with it. It's called The Messy Truth.
Cool.
So it's really about embracing your darkness and being messy. Like an example of, if you go into my purse, it's scary. Like it's just, I find my shine and my beauty through my messiness in every part of my life. And I find that the world is selling us on either being spiritually perfect or yogi perfect or, you know, looking perfect. And it's like, that's not where I find my, it's BS.
Yeah, it's BS, yeah. It's all garbage.
It's not real. And the more I dive into that messiness, the more happy and the joyful I am.
Yeah. there's been some amazing catalysts that have kind of occurred since we last spoke. My daughter Celeste was born in February.
Right.
And Celeste was born with a congenital heart defect. And so we almost lost her 3 times in the first week.
I saw that, right?
And actually I'm writing another book now, and it's about that. It's not really spiritual. It's not really a spiritual book. It's about a father's journey through crisis and the role that crisis plays in our evolution. And the gift that she's given me is that I don't waste time anymore.
I love that.
That's it. I just don't waste time anymore. Like, if it's not in alignment and it's not in resonance, it's got to go.
And I've gotten better at that with discernment. Like, you just say yes or no when you hear yes or no, and I just go. And I still have the mother's guilt, and I'm working it.
Yeah,
you don't have any of it?
That, no.
That's awesome.
It's like Celeste's heart defect has helped me kind of address my own heart defect, wherever there was one, or wherever I still had fear in me.
You
or
healed
insecurity.
it. You started healing it.
It's still going on. I mean, she's taking us on the ride of our lives. But it's amazing how when death shows up, it's amazing how when death shows up in your life, it's a call to actually finally start living. And as much as I was successful, and as much as I was at the top of this whole industry,
right.
and as much as I was on a household name around the world,
right.
None of that really meant anything.
Nope. Yeah.
So my little Celeste has been my catalyst in bringing everything into a whole other level of life.
So does everybody hear that? Because I experienced that as well. That's why it brings me to tears with my dearest friend who I was with when she died. And nothing brings you to that until you slow down.
Right.
And you get real. And every time now, it's been 7 or 8 years, every time now I get like crazy and busy because I have a lot of children and a lot going on, I hear her voice. Really, Kelly? What is important? What's valuable right now? Right. And it really changed me forever. I think that's what put me on this path to start sharing my truth more, because I was happy being who I was, but now it felt like I needed to be out there a little bit more. But also, on the other hand, you're very different with what you're speaking. That truth you're speaking right now is unique to the world. There's not a lot of people saying what you're saying in the spiritual realm, saying, this is simple. It's not about the spiritual thing. This is about being here now. I just want to know your simple message, because you said you don't have a lot of.
You know what it is, sweetheart? I've never. For me, I never got involved in this to create a following or to create a dependency.
Right.
And what I've discovered being involved in this, the other side of the transformational curtain, is that dependency is created, consciously or unconsciously. And so for me, I've been out there even on telesummit saying, you don't need any of this. You don't need to buy any of these products.
Right.
You're already everything. And let me remind you that you're already everything. And let's start to gather up all the parts of you that you think are broken and less than. And let's start to accept them and embrace them. Because actually they're not, they're blessings. And the more we can begin to embrace all these parts of us, the freer we become. And that's really the journey of discovering our soul signature. See, and then life continues to happen. Like, people have this notion that, enlightenment means that all of a sudden nothing's going to happen in your life. It doesn't mean that. No. It just means that you'll be at peace in the midst of what's happening, because you won't be resisting it anymore. You know that whatever's happening, whether it be losing a child, getting divorced, a financial crisis, whatever that is, a label, a disease, whatever that is, actually is serving to bring you into a greater level of love. Does it always feel good? No. Is it messy? Yeah. But ultimately, when you recognize that it's all a catalyst for your evolution, you don't avoid it anymore.
So it's a surrender. It's
exactly.
some sort of a surrender and trying to understand. So when you were going through this experience, you felt that way.
Absolutely. Because I found that most of the spiritual concepts and most of the spiritual ideology and belief systems that we have don't work. When the rubber meets the road, actually, you can just throw all of that out the window, because it doesn't mean anything. What matters is having somebody there holding your hand in the midst of what's happening. That's what matters. That's all you want. You just want to know that you're not alone in the midst of this experience. I had one friend call me every day, just one. Just one, out of all of the people
he
that I know.
He calls you, or she, or whatever.
He called me every day, from Europe,
checking
every day,
on you.
to check in on me, to see my face, so I could see his face.
That's this best friend over here. No,
to see how I was doing. One. That's what you want.
It is. And it reminds me, because my husband right now is with his best friend who just had a huge surgery for cancer. And he texted me this morning and said, I'm flying from Houston to Detroit to take him home, and then I'm coming home. And I went, that's what, and I teared up last night, and I'm with my best friend. It's like, that's what life's about.
Right.
Being there, being present, checking in with someone.
Right. And also, I think we as a culture have to evolve beyond this kind of seeking and searching or self-aggrandizement that occurs as a result of us putting on this spiritual mantle, and just realize that we need to live life, really. Like I'm realizing that it's just simply about living life.
So what is it like, okay, you were just at Chopra
That's also,
Center.
by the way, why I stopped doing interviews, because I've just reached a point where I got tired of having the same
questions
and answering the same questions over and over again, and the same dialogue that doesn't further our culture.
Agreed.
So I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah. So with Chopra, being at Chopra, I've been at Chopra Center. So Deepak Chopra is known as one of the greatest teachers of our time in a lot of ways. So he is known as a spiritual teacher, you know? So when you're with these people that are known, like Oprah and Deepak and Omega or Kripalu, how do you interact with them from the place that you're in, where you're saying basically, look, really, all you need to be is be here, and throw that out? Like,
well, I think that's the essence of what everyone's actually been saying.
It's just
I think I've just had the courage to finally just come out and just say it, like, out loud, over and over and over again. And I'll continue to do so as long as people need to be reminded. But ultimately, everybody knows it to be the truth. That's why they can't resist it or deny it.
But that takes a lot of courage, and I love it, because that's why I'm drawn to you.
Right.
And I made a choice last year to be drawn to people and set intentions and discernment with people that I'm aligned with in that perspective, not just people that are creating a following.
Right.
And perpetuating the spiritual self-help world.
I mean, we've got it now. We've got hipster spirituality, right? Which is what it's become. Which is someone goes and takes a yoga teacher training, or reads A Course in Miracles, and all of a sudden becomes a spiritual guru.
Right.
Really? Like, when did that start happening? Right? I mean, we're seeing it. We're seeing this hipster spirituality, and it's Kelly. Here's the thing: like when Neil Donald Walsh or Gary Zukav, all these people that were the forerunners of this industry got involved in it. They didn't get involved in it because they wanted to be rich and famous.
Nope.
They got involved in it because they had a message they wanted to share. What's happening in spirituality is the same that happened in music. You know, Run DMC came out. They put out an album because they wanted to put an album. Now everyone's putting out a rap album because they want to be rich and famous. That's what's happening in spirituality. And so for me, that's why it's even more important that this message gets shared in an even louder way. Because it's important now that people hear the truth and disengage from that superficiality. Because you can do all the backbends in the world that you want, but if you don't have an inner posture of flexibility, you're deluded.
I love that. We have to get that quote.
You're wasting your time.
The inner posture of flexibility.
Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's really what yoga is.
Yes.
It's cultivating an inner posture of flexibility. So when life happens, you bend, you don't break.
Right, and Women for One is now, our new slogan is make life happen.
Exactly.
Make life happen. It's not, and you know, if you take the feminine and the masculine, right, you got the feminine creative birth, and then you have that masculine do. I am in the book when I'm writing, it's not just about that feminine space or also that storytelling, because you can stay in your victimhood and your story for a long time, but moving into that place of how do I move into choice? And that's kind of where I wanted to take this conversation. Because I find that a lot of people in the spiritual self-help world, they want to process and they want to heal, yet moving into that masculine, like, I'm going to make choice, even if it's baby steps. How do you see doing that a little bit more?
Well, I think first of all, you have to look at how painful it is not to make a choice. I think sitting on the fence is the most painful thing that any human being can do. And ultimately, we have to learn to make decisions and live with them, understanding that they're a part of our greater destiny. And again, for me, this is one of the great gifts that Celeste has given me. Is that now it's like, I'll make the decision and I'll live with it. And it doesn't matter because I just recognize it's a part of my destiny. And that's the courage that we have to cultivate. I think that we spend too much time, almost in a narcissistic way, on self-improvement. But it's like, which self are you improving and why? It's like, why are you making your limitations more manageable? How about we focus our attention on what we really want? And how about we begin to move toward what we really want to align with vibrationally? You know, instead of creating yet more addictive cycles of emotionality that don't really serve us. Right? So people have been dealing with the same. See, here's the thing, Kelly. It's like people have been involved with spirituality now in America for 40, 50 years.
Right.
They're still dealing with the same things. To me, that's an indication that transformation isn't working.
Right.
Right? I mean, if you're still dealing with the same thing after 50 years, something needs to shift.
Yes.
But you see, but it's not their fault. It's just that no one's ever really given them a blueprint as to how to do that or how to have that happen. Why? Because we create a culture of dependency in spirituality. That's the shadow of the spiritual industry.
Right. Well, there's shadows of everything, right?
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So this is this shadow, right?
So then at that point, it's like, okay, well, yeah, I've got all of these things. All of the things have happened to me. But at that point, where is my focus? Where's my attention? How about I shift my attention onto everything that is working? How about I begin to align with how life is unfolding on my behalf?
And get real about it, right?
Exactly. And that's not denial, that's not delusion. That's actually choice.
It's not affirmations.
No.
It's choice. It's
Affirmations
in that moment.
don't work.
No, they don't.
People
and
put
I
them
agree.
up on their mirrors, put them up on their ceilings, have put them everywhere in their toilets, I mean, everywhere in the world. And yet the reality that they're wanting to bring into being still hasn't arrived.
Right.
Because people don't know how to align with it.
So you're talking about the alignment
That's
of
right.
what is.
That's right. And now more and more, post soul signature, that's the shift that's happened.
So that's what you do in your workshop. So
Absolutely.
when you're at your workshop, can you give me a little teaser of what happens at them?
Yeah, what I want is for people to really be empowered as to how to navigate the material world and how we vibrationally do that and how we continue to place our focus on what it is that we want, so much so that we become like a vortex of energy and we begin to bring into our lives everything that we want to experience because we can. And that's a part of our destiny now. That's why we're here. That's the end result of being empowered, is to then be creative, is to then begin to apply that creativity to our lives.
And you've done that personally.
Absolutely.
So you're doing it. And
that's
you're
how in 3
teaching
years
it.
I went from a gold box in a living room with 20 people to sitting next to Oprah.
Right.
I'm the kid that came out of nowhere.
Right. I
And
remember
then
she said, how do you not have a book
and then
yet? Yeah.
got the book deal with Penguin Random House, biggest publisher in the world. I mean, it's just,
Right.
when you look at the trajectory that's happened, how has that happened? It's happened through my willingness to be myself. And it's
and
happened
aligning
through
with
my
yourself.
willingness to align fully with what that means. And that's brought greater possibility into my life in a short period of time than it ever could have brought into my life any other way.
Well, and someone would say, what is that willingness? How did that shift you? Do you remember the moment you started being willing?
Well, you just end your inner conflict to being yourself. So at that point, stop having a problem being you. Understand that you'll always be you. And be at peace in your own body. When you're at peace, all of a sudden you attract possibility.
Okay, wait, we have to stop there because that's what you did with me at lunch, and I definitely want to say that. You asked me just a few questions, and it was really interesting because I decided to start just asking those questions about who I was and getting really at peace because everybody else saw the potential in me, but I didn't. And I had to go in for many months and look at it. And now I'm at this new space where it's like, I am more at peace with myself now than I've ever been my whole life. And I still have a lot of work to do. I mean, it's always, right? It's a continual.
Right.
But just that one statement, being at peace, say it again.
Being at peace with yourself brings greater possibility into your experience.
It's really simple.
It is.
Why do we mind screw
Because we've
ourselves?
been conditioned to be like monkeys in a cage, jumping up and down, screaming, thinking that the louder we scream and the more we jump up and down, the faster we're going to get out of the cage.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
And we're not going to get out of the cage.
It's about slowing down and really becoming...
And it's about embracing the fact that you're neurotic, embracing the fact that you may have had abuse or trauma in your past. It's about embracing all of that. And it's not denying any of that. It's being inclusive of it all and then being willing to live in the midst of it.
Sit in that tornado once in a while. Just
And
sit
live
in it.
in the midst
and
of
live
it.
in it.
Don't apologize for it. Don't try and heal it or fix it. Understand that it made you who you are and then move on.
Right.
Move
Or a
on.
lot of people I've noticed keep secrets. They
Right.
shove it down thinking it's just going to go away if we just don't look at it.
Right.
Right?
Doesn't work.
No, I tried that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work either. But also then I felt like a neurotic mess and I judged myself for it.
Right.
So then I moved into the place of, wow, this is my beauty.
Yeah.
This is my power. This
Yeah.
place of
And
craziness.
there was never anything wrong with any of it because who we are at our core is pure awareness. So right now, awareness is experiencing itself as Kelly. That's what's going on here. Awareness is experiencing itself as Panache. Or the divine is experiencing itself as us in this moment.
It's just awareness.
That's all it is. And if the divine doesn't have a problem with that, then why do we?
It's that resistance,
there has to come
right?
a point. This is how the transformation industry evolves. We fully acknowledge that we're already transformed. There's no longer a need for it.
Right.
Then, whatever that next thing is, now that's what excites me, is the next thing, because then that's the application of energy in the world. That begins to flower and that begins to be born. And that's where now everything that I'm doing is headed.
Because you've got this, like now you've got all this creative force because you've surrendered to who you are, you've accepted it fully.
Right.
Now it's like, let's go, gangbusters, right?
And
You're ready to go.
And there's no stopping it.
There's no stopping that manifestation.
No,
once you get there.
I've looked at companies in this industry to buy, to repurpose. I've started to look at other vehicles where we can start expanding this message. People who we can align with to start being empowered as authors and speakers. I mean, I'm working on shifting this whole thing. Because right now, every existing template that we're operating under in our field is all fear, lack, and scarcity. But that's not who we are anymore. We're collaboration, right? Like, this is a collaboration. When this happens in this way, it impacts millions of people. And that's what the world needs to see now. And that needs to happen in publishing. It needs to happen in conferences. It needs to happen in every single part of our field, because that's the next part of the evolution. But in order for that to happen, there has to be no fear, no lack, and no scarcity. And the sad thing is, in our field, there's still a lot of that.
There's a lot of that. I can feel that.
People are compromising their integrity for a bag of money. They just are. They are. You know, when I wrote the book, I found out in short order that the New York Times list didn't mean anything. That people were buying their way on the New York Times list.
Oh my gosh, really?
Really. And I didn't want to play the game.
No. I'm not in this to play the game either, so that's why I love you.
But I didn't want to play the game.
Right. So
because it would have been easy for me to play
to just
15,000 copies of my own book and give them away.
Wow. That's what people were doing to get on the New York Times.
That's the only way they got on that list.
Wow. It's a game. There's a lot of that going on.
See, but that requires you knowing who you are. And that requires you knowing who you are so profoundly and loving yourself so profoundly that you won't compromise.
The integrity.
Exactly.
I think integrity is the most important thing in life. I've learned that more and more working in this industry. And I've done this because it's my soul's project. That's what I've done it. So it's just this place of really aligning with my soul's purpose. This isn't about making money. This isn't about what it is when I get discouraged with what I'm doing, which we all do, what happens to me is I get a letter from a woman across the world saying, this changed my life to be part of this community, that I could actually speak my truth and be honored. What else do I want? That's all I'm doing.
And that's why I love you, because our collective agreement or our collective purpose here is to be of service.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's the difference.
That's it.
It's not how can this industry serve me. It's how can we continue to evolve to serve others in a greater and more impactful way. That's why we're sitting here.
And to grow ourselves, because that's really what I'm excited about. I've been a seeker my whole life, and what does that mean now? It's not serving me. The industry isn't serving me anymore, so I'm going to serve myself and find my tribe. And you're part of my tribe.
Yeah, so. You're a part of mine.
Thank you. So how can people find you?
My website, panachedesai.com, so PANACHEDESAI.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all those happy places. And Facebook is the only place in my life where I need anyone's approval. Don't need it anywhere else. I don't need anyone to like me anywhere else in my life.
But you need to be liked on Facebook?
Apparently. That was the scope of Mark Zuckerberg's vision when he created that platform. He just wanted to be liked. I
know. I like to be liked on there too.
It is what it is.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, we got a bunch of unlikes this week.
Right.
Oh
See,
well.
I don't sweat that.
No.
So if you want to like me, great. If you don't, whatever.
Just kidding. It's so funny. And you're traveling a lot. You've been to Chopra last week.
I am.
You're here in Seattle right now.
I'm here. Yeah, we're doing a weekend here. I did Celebrate Your Life. I did the keynote. I was the first person outside of Deepak and Wayne to do that opening night keynote at Celebrate Your Life.
Wow.
And so, people are ready now.
And you're enjoying it.
Yeah, and
you like it. It's fun.
And I'm here telling the truth. And I'm here in spite of that. And everyone's all of a sudden embracing it. And now they're putting me on the main stage and letting me open conferences and events. So it just means that people are ready now.
It means that people are ready, and it means that your message is real and true, because you're saying if you align with your truth and you speak your truth, anything is possible, and that's what you're doing, and now it's working.
Right. Yeah.
How cool is that? It's
exactly.
And it gives me so much hope, because we've both been in, following gurus and in the industry for many years. And it's like so nice to see someone that I completely believe in. On my new website, on my page, I have 5 of my favorite things. I don't mean to be like Oprah, but it's like 5 things that have inspired me. Your book's on there. This book, honestly, I know it's not the real book because I just can't let go of this copy. This book changed my life, and other than Panache's book, Paolo and Panache. They're my two.
Two Ps.
No, I'm serious. You guys have changed my life.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks for doing this interview. I really
Welcome,
appreciate
sweetheart.
it.
Thanks for just being an authentic and honest place for people to come and connect. That's why I love coming back here.
That's all we want to do, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
you.
everyone. Take care.